Hello, this is Miss Andrea, and this is not another homeschool vlog. Are you a homeschooling parent currently? Are you a former homeschooling parent? And is homeschooling your personality? Because that is a struggle I have been dealing with, I think, for 20 years. When you do something so not mainstream, it can become your personality, and that can be good in some ways, and in some ways it can be super limiting. I remember toward the end of my active homeschool journey, and so when I say active, I mean the times that I was actually homeschooling my own children versus the times that I was counseling other homeschoolers versus currently when I'm running a homeschool program. So I'm talking about when I was actively homeschooling. Every time I got invited to my sister-in-law's house, my ex-sister-in-law actually, she would be there with all of her friends, and her friends were fabulous women, and a lot of them were teachers. And it took me a while to realize it, but after a couple of years, I realized that I was literally the entertainment. I would get asked questions about homeschooling, and then it would start out innocent, and then by the time it was time to go, an hour or two later, I was exhausted because I was put in a position to educate, inform, and defend homeschooling. And so the last time that happened, I just never went back. I didn't go to any of the we're selling this item parties. I didn't go to any of the children's birthday parties that weren't a big focus thing where I could step away from the friend group. I just didn't go over there to socialize anymore, because as a homeschooler, you can be put into a bucket where people will make homeschooling your personality if you haven't been careful to honestly not do it yourself. And honestly, it's easy to do yourself as well. For instance, having a homeschool blog. Back then I was a homeschool blogger. I lived, breathed, and thought homeschooling. And I've been doing homeschool videos and homeschool vlogging for the last who knows how long. So if you're always thinking about content and thinking about how you can educate people in that content, it can become your whole personality. Take the Trad Wives, for example. It's a whole personality, isn't it? And homeschool parenting can be a whole personality. And it's really hard because I've noticed, not just with myself, but with other women who homeschool, it's so hard to create content that is not homeschooling. We try to do some cleaning, and we try to do some cooking, and we try to do some personality type stuff, but at the end of the day, it always comes back around to that thing that we're doing that most people don't do. And that's why, because it's something that most people don't do, and so people are curious, and so it is a topic of discussion. But here's the thing: most people don't do it, and most people don't care about it. And so that's why it's so important for us to widen our horizons, figure out what all else we love to do, and to spend more time in that just for our own personal balance. For me, that thing has been theater, which has started out adjacent to homeschooling, because the homeschool program I had my kids in had a theater program, right? And so when homeschooling was done, when the youngest was in college, a fellow homeschooling mom who knew that I had gotten really good at making costumes invited me to a community theater where I ended up making costumes for like 6 or 7 years. I also ended up on the board. I ended up kind of helping to run the whole theater, and I did that for a long time until I got pulled back into running a homeschool program. And even then, theater is a huge part of what I do. And the thing I have to remind myself is that I have to make it a point to not only do theater, not only volunteer in theater, not only work in theater, because I've made some money costuming for actually public schools and things like that also, but to just go ahead and sit down in the audience and enjoy the theater experience. And I did that for a while, especially while my kids were in college. My husband had a job that had us in Manhattan. Well, it had him in Manhattan pretty much full time, but it had me in Manhattan about 10 days a month. And so I really got to enjoy shows during that time. And now that I feel so tired and so kind of burnt out, I am literally digging back into theater to give me that excitement and that energy that I feel like is missing, because homeschooling can be all encompassing. I saw 3 shows this month. One, my daughter's best friend, who was also my theater teacher at my program, was in. It was Clue. Last week I saw a show at community theater that I used to volunteer at. My daughter costumed that. It was a church drama called Chicken and Biscuits. And tonight, or today, I went to the Atlanta Shakespeare Tavern, and I saw Hamlet, and it starred a woman, and it was refreshing. It's kind of cool because it didn't feel like a woman playing a man playing Hamlet. It just felt like an actor playing Hamlet. So they did a really good job in casting, and she did a really good job in bringing the role to life. And so, as I mentioned, I really want this vlog to be more about me and more about what I do. It's hard for me to get into the habit of filming everyday things when I'm used to turning on the camera and then talking about homeschooling and talking about education. And honestly, it's hard for that to not be a part of my personality. But how many people work in fast food and then go home and talk about flipping hamburgers? Or what job did I ever work? How many people work in a department store and then go home and talk about folding clothing and accessories? Everyone's job doesn't have to be part of their personality. There has to be other things that you love and other things that you enjoy. I was an artist before I was anything else. And theater is a bit of an applied art. And that's probably why I love it so much. I'm also a visual artist. My second degree is a BA in fine arts. And so it's important to me to go back to being the well-rounded person I was before I had kids 30 years ago and before I started homeschooling those kids. Andrea was a dynamic person, right? I'm taking my cues from a new YouTuber who recently blew up. Her handle is Doe Dash. She was a Door Dasher, and she started out filming herself doing deliveries and talking. And when her videos got less contrived, when her videos got more natural, just talk to the camera about whatever's on your heart, that's when she started doing really well. And a lot of people are like slamming her because they're saying don't believe that she was lucky, or they're complaining that she used social media to get money for surgery once and things like that nature. I've watched her videos and she just on here being her. And I think for me, the reason why I named this not another homeschool blog or not another homeschool vlog, I don't even know how many years ago, was because I wanted to find myself in this YouTube journey. And as I am 56, as I move toward retirement and move toward creating a relaxing rest of my life, I think it's super important for what I do to not be my personality, and for me and my interest to be my personality. So,
hey y'all, this is Miss Mare.
and this is Miss Andrea.
And we're with Hazelwood Prep.
We want to remind you that Georgia gives on Giving Tuesday.
The mission of Hazelwood Prep is to foster an inclusive educational community that inspires excellence. We blend language arts and history, and we track math with science in a hybrid learning environment.
We teach through the arts and house a fantastic theater program.
Find us and other Georgia nonprofits at gagives.org and consider giving.
That's all I have for today. Till next time.